Okay, good evening all. This is our SYJC biology lecture. We are in chapter number 2. Name of the chapter is Reproduction in Lower and Higher Animals. We are in part 4 of this chapter. I am Professor Prasad Tamankar. In the last session, we have understood the working of male and female reproductive system. In case of female reproductive system, it is menstrual cycle. I told you it is a bit complicated. In case of females, the working of female reproductive system. Actually, we have studied only the cycle. We have not understood what happens during fertilization or after fertilization. So let us revise this reproductive cycle of female, menstrual cycle in female fast. Reproductive cycle or menstrual cycle or ovarian cycle is so called because it is taking place once in a month. Ovary, pituitary gland and uterus are the three organs which are involved in it. It is taking place within say 28 days. It is a 28 days plan normally we can say, and divided into 4 phases. First phase is called as proliferative phase. Second phase is called as ovulatory phase. Third phase is called as secretory phase or luteal phase, and fourth phase is called as menstrual phase. Menstrual phase being visible from outside, it can be considered as the beginning of new cycle and end of earlier cycle. That's how we study menstrual phase as a first phase. Now, why menstrual phase starts? There are 2 reasons. First reason is the ovum released in earlier cycle doesn't get fertilized. That is one reason. And second reason is the progesterone level decreases. Now, progesterone is a hormone, female sex hormone given by ovary, essential for maintenance of endometrial thickness. मतलब endometrium का जो thickness है वो ये maintain करता है. Why endometrium should remain thick? I told you the reason. It should remain soft, moist, smooth, and glandular and vascular, so that the baby which is coming in the form of zygote or embryo should get implanted over here. For implantation, it should allow good environment, good healthy environment. So that's an idea behind it. That's how it should be remain in a good condition. That's why it should be maintained. Okay. So ये progesterone का काम था. Progesterone decreases and ovum in the earlier cycle doesn't get fertilized. These are the 2 reasons because of which there is a shedding of endometrial lining, endothelial lining, even we can say, and the entire structure collapses, the endometrium collapses, and it is given out as a menstruum. Menstruum consists of cell debris, blood clots sometimes might be there, and even secondary oocyte is given. Around 100 ml of blood is given out. It is a stage which lasts for around 3 to 7 days. It has been said, but on an average it is lasting for 4 days. Okay, so this is how we can say menstrual phases. So it is end of earlier cycle and the beginning of new cycle. During this, the hormonal level, if you take into consideration, progesterone level decreases, and when progesterone level decreases, the signal is obtained by pituitary gland so as to increase the level of FSH, and that's how next phase starts, that is proliferative phase or follicular phase. Proliferative phase or follicular phase, we can say it is second stage, actually first stage of the cycle. So it is a new cycle beginning, but so far as our studies are concerned, it is second stage. It will be lasting from 5th day of menstrual cycle to the 14th day of menstrual cycle. Around 8 to 10 days is a span of this particular cycle. Now, during this, the level of FSH will go on increasing as there is a decrease in the level of progesterone. FSH level will go on increasing. Increased level of FSH will affect on ovaries, on the primordial follicles. Under the influence of FSH, around 15, we can say 10 to 15 primordial follicles will start developing. Okay, so that is a general characteristic feature. Out of these 10 to 15 primordial follicles, the one which is the most active, the largest one and fast dividing, will get transformed into secondary follicle and ultimately will reach to form Graafian follicle. Okay, so this is the event occurring. Now these developing follicles will secrete. Developing follicles have a lining. That lining is called as, or lining is developed, that is called as membrana granulosa, and this membrana granulosa will start producing hormone estrogen. So estrogen is a hormone given by ovary. This hormone will affect on the uterus and will start proliferation or reconstruction of endometrial lining. Okay, so progesterone decrease will lead to increase in FSH. As FSH increases, development of follicles will start. Developing follicles will start producing estrogen hormone. This estrogen hormone will affect on uterus and will start reconstruction of endometrial lining. As reconstruction of endometrial lining starts, so bleeding through uterus automatically stops. There is no medication required. Okay, so this is proliferation taking place in ovary. What is proliferation in ovary? The development of primordial follicles to form Graafian follicle. What is proliferation in uterus? Endometrial lining, which was shredded off and it has become thin, now will start reconstructing and will become proper thick up to around, we can say 4 to 5 millimeters. It will become smooth, moist, vascular and glandular structure, so as to wait and watch for coming baby to get implanted. Okay, so this ends with second phase called as, क्या था इसका नाम याद है ना आपको? It is called as proliferative phase or follicular phase. Then comes third phase, that is called as ovulatory phase. Now, how ovulatory phase starts? Increase in the hormone endometrium, increase in the hormone that is estrogen. This is ovarian hormone. So ovarian hormone will give feedback to pituitary gland. So ovarian hormone estrogen will affect on pituitary gland. So when level of estrogen increases, it is a signal for pituitary gland to decrease the follicle stimulating hormone and increase a new hormone, that is luteinizing hormone. I told you the reason for this. Okay, we don't have got much space in our body, we humans actually speaking, and that's how only one baby can be born at a time. Only one baby can be nourished, and that's how the space is available. Don't tell me that there are twins produced sometimes. Okay, that is an exception. It's not a regular thing. Okay, so एक ही बच्चा बढ़ने जितनी जगह है, and that's how what we can say is the FSH should be decreased so that there is no further maturation of follicles so as to develop Graafian follicle and ovum subsequently. So FSH level decreases and there is an increase in the level of LH. LH, when is increased and reached to its peak on 14th day of menstrual cycle, there will be ovulation taking place. Means LH, under influence of LH, Graafian follicle will rupture and will release ovum out, secondary ovum out. This is called as ovulation. So ovulation will take place on 14th day or mostly 15th day of menstrual cycle, and it is 1 day program. So that is another characteristic feature. Okay, so this is ovulatory phase. Uske baad aayega fourth phase, that is called as luteal phase or secretory phase. Now we have to continue always from earlier phase. So in the earlier phase, what had happened? LH was increased. Under influence of LH, the Graafian follicle got ruptured. This Graafian follicle gets transformed into corpus luteum, and LH hormone, luteinizing hormone, will keep on maintaining corpus luteum. It will keep the corpus luteum active, and under influence of luteinizing hormone, corpus luteum will start secreting another ovarian hormone that is known as progesterone. So on the onset of breaking of or rupturing of Graafian follicle, what happens? The estrogen level will go on decreasing, but at the same time, the progesterone level will go on increasing. So now endometrial lining will come under influence of progesterone instead of estrogen. So progesterone level, when increases, endometrial lining will be maintained. This should happen for next 14 days, because on 14th day, remember very well, this should happen on next 14 days. I said on 14th day, ovum was released. This ovum might get fertilized and will reach to uterus and may get implanted. So sufficient time should be made available for this embryo to get implanted. And for that purpose, this 14 days time is given. But again, there is a feedback mechanism. When progesterone level increases beyond level or beyond the normal concentration, or we can say when it becomes high, it is a signal for pituitary gland to lower the level of LH. तो जैसे प्रोजेस्टेरॉन इंक्रीज होगा वैसे LH का लेवल कम हो जाएगा. अंडर इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ लो लेवल ऑफ LH, luteinizing hormone का लेवल कम हो गया. So now the corpus luteum will not be maintained. It will be converted into corpus albicans. तो जैसे corpus luteum corpus albicans में convert हो जाता है, secretion of progesterone also will stop. Okay. And when it comes below normal, progesterone level when comes below normal, and if the ovum in the earlier cycle is not fertilized, once again, there will be next menstruation beginning. So this is how the cycle, entire cycle is. Okay. So there are 4 hormones, basically remember. So we started with progesterone is low. When progesterone becomes low, FSH becomes high. Okay, progesterone is a hormone of ovary, FSH is a hormone of pituitary gland. When FSH becomes high, there is a increased level of estrogen. But when estrogen increases, FSH is decreased and LH is increased. Next hormone, LH, is increased. Okay, when LH reaches to its peak, it is time for now estrogen to cut off. Means estrogen level will decrease and new level of hormone progesterone will increase. When progesterone increases, LH level decreases and FSH level once again increases. Okay, so it's a kind of, we can say, switch on and switch off mechanism. One hormone of ovary will increase or stimulate rise in the second hormone of pituitary gland and decrease of one hormone of pituitary gland. जैसे कि प्रोजेस्टेरोन किसका हार्मोन था, ओवरी का हार्मोन, वो क्या करता है, प्रोजेस्टेरोन का लेवल जब कम हो जाएगा तो FSH का लेवल बढ़ेगा. FSH is hormone of pituitary gland. When level of FSH increases, ovarian hormone first increases, that is estrogen. But with rise in estrogen, pituitary gland का हार्मोन जो था FSH वो डिक्रीज हो जाएगा और दूसरा हार्मोन पिट्यूटरी का दैट इज LH, ल्यूटिनाइजिंग हार्मोन, वो बढ़ जाएगा. जब LH बढ़ेगा, LH is a hormone of pituitary gland, so in that case estrogen level will decrease and one more hormone, that is progesterone, now will increase. Estrogen is hormone of ovary, progesterone also is a hormone of ovary. So remember very well, one hormone is going to decrease the earlier hormone and increase the level of later hormone. This will keep on occurring in a cyclic manner, in a tuned manner. That's why, and within 28 days plan, so it is called as cycle or menstrual cycle because it is monthly cycle. So just we have revised it, being understood that it is difficult. Now let us move on to understand the next thing, that is we have to study the structure of gametes. Now what are gametes? Gametes are the sex cells which are haploid in nature. We have to study male gametes and we have to study female gamete. So structure of male gamete first we have to understand. Structure of male gamete is sperm. So it is a male gamete. Now you have to give where it is produced. It is produced in seminiferous tubules within the testis under the influence of hormone FSH and from germinal epithelial cells. तो ये उसका पूरा एड्रेस हो गया. तो ये कहाँ पे तैयार होता है? सेमिनिफेरस ट्यूब्यूल्स में. बराबर. सेमिनिफेरस ट्यूब्यूल्स कहाँ पे? टेस्टिस में. ठीक है. Then what we said, it is produced from meiosis of the specialized cells. What are those specialized cells? Germinal epithelial cells. Okay, and then by the process of spermatogenesis. तो ये सब उसमें याद रखना है. Then actually well developed sperm or well developed male gamete will be always haploid in nature. It is ultra microscopic in nature. Haploid का मतलब आपको पता चल गया होगा. It has got single set of chromosomes. It is ultra microscopic means very tiny in size. Around 60 to 65 microns is the size of sperm generally given. It is oval in shape and motile. Has got motility. Motility means capable of movement or capable of moving from one place to other place. Has got 4 parts, like it is having head region, then there is neck region, body and tail. So these are the 4 parts available. We have to study one by one all the parts. Head region is important. It is the anterior-most region of the sperm having one single haploid nucleus. So the entire portion of head region is laden with nucleus, means nuclear material will be there present in it. And there is a small cap-like structure present over the head region. This cap-like structure is known as acrosome. Remember this word very well. Acrosome is important for carrying out rupturing of layers present around the ovum. Sperm को ovum के अंदर penetrate करना है, but for penetration it should rupture the layers. ये drill करते जाएगा अंदर. Drill करने के लिए उसके पास enzymes है. So these enzymes are basically hydrolytic enzymes. These enzymes will keep on digesting the layers present around the ovum, and that's how sperm will get entry into it. So there may be hydrolytic enzyme. There is an enzyme called as hyaluronidase and even the proteolytic enzymes. These enzymes are responsible for penetration or allowing penetration of sperm into ovum. So that is the first part. Second region is neck region. Neck region is a very short connection between the body and head region. So this neck region will consist of a pair of centrioles. दो centrioles है वहां पे. One is called as proximal centriole. This proximal centriole will be given to the ovum. Now remember this very, very well. Ovum has got no centriole. Secondary oocyte, when is formed, in the secondary oocyte, the centriole is not there. Why? Because it may start undergoing division on its own. That should not happen. So, ऐसा बनाया गया है mechanism कि without fertilization, the further development will not start. Okay, and so proximal centriole will be there. This proximal centriole will be given to the ovum at the time of fertilization. There is a distal centriole also available. This distal centriole will form a basal body, and from this basal body, axis of tail of sperm will be produced. Okay, remember basal body or we can say basal granule are present behind each flagella and cilia, which shows 9+2 arrangement. And this 9+2 arrangement is important feature of eukaryotes. So this 9+2 जो axis है, central axis of what we can say tail will be having 9+2 arrangement, and this central axis axoneme, it is called as axoneme, will give tail of sperm. Okay, then there is a middle piece available, or it is also called as body of sperm. This middle piece will be consisting of a filament, as we have said. Axial filament will be available. Filament हुआ है वो filament चाहिए यहाँ पे. This axial filament will be surrounded by a spiral bunch or spiral, we can say band of, we can say cluster of mitochondria. So there will be mitochondria present arranged around the central axis within this particular region, middle piece. This cluster is known as Nebencairn. Cluster of mitochondria is called as Nebencairn. This Nebencairn is responsible for providing energy to the middle piece, or providing energy to the axis of the tail so as to undergo vibrations, or we can say lashing movement of the tail, as a result of which sperm can move ahead. Okay, this mitochondria will be arranged in around 10 to 14 spiral turns. So it's a dense layer of mitochondria available over here. This will provide energy and will be responsible for movement of sperms. So that is very important. Fourth region is tail region. Tail region is a very long, thin and slender part. It is much, much longer than that of head region and Nebencairn region. So bada portion hai ye tail. It is surrounded by small amount of cytoplasm, and this cytoplasm is also surrounded by membrane. So a tail will be having enclosed in a plasma membrane covering. This portion is known as main piece of tail. Okay, whereas last portion of the tail is without covering or without any plasma membrane covering. This portion is called as end piece. So tail can be divided into two parts, main piece and end piece. So that is a characteristic feature. Then we can say this is a structure of sperm or diagrammatic representation of sperm. If it is asked diagrammatic representation, आपको इस तरह से diagram उसका बनाना पड़ेगा. So try to see, look at this particular head region and the nucleus here to show inside, and acrosome. Then there is a short portion called as neck region. This neck region we have to show about with two centrioles. This is mitochondria with spiral mitochondria. Middle piece it is called as Nebencairn, and this entire portion is called as tail region. Up to this particular region, it is covered with cytoplasmic covering, so it's called as main piece. End portion is not covered, so it is called as end piece or tail piece. Okay, so these are the things. तो sperm का diagram आपने को 2 मार्क के लिए आएगा ड्रॉ करने के लिए. Sketch and label sperm और male gamete ऐसे देंगे. Okay, so remember this. You have to sketch this diagram and give 3 labelings. Fine. Now some specialties about the sperm. We said it is microscopic in nature, rather ultra microscopic in nature. So its length will be around 60 to 65 microns. Sperm is motile in nature. It is having a speed of around 1.5 to 3 millimeters per minute. And this comes to be very, just a moment. Okay, this speed comes to be around, we can say 50 to 60 microns per second. Now you must know how to convert it. 50 to 60 microns per second का मतलब क्या हो जाएगा? So 1.5 to 3 millimeters per minute. ऐसे हम लोगों ने कहा है. So 1 millimeter is equal to 1000 microns. So 3 millimeters will be equal to कितना होगा? 3000 microns. 3000 divided by 60. 1 minute is converted into seconds, 60 seconds. So if you do this calculation, you will get around, it will be around, we can say 25 to 50 microns per minute, or around we can say 60 microns per minute. So जितना length sperm का है, उतना length ये sperm एक second में travel कर देता है. So 50 to 60 microns per second and 1.5 to 3 millimeters per minute. याद रखना, this speed is very important. And a sperm which is having a motility of this type means the sperm which is capable of moving ahead by 1.5 to 3 millimeters per minute will be considered as actively motile sperm. Okay, we have said ejaculation. Ejaculation is a process during which semen is released out, and the amount of ejaculum, amount of semen given is called as ejaculum. This ejaculum will be around 3 to 5 ml per sexual stress. Okay. And the sperm count is very important. Now, what is sperm count? Number of sperms present per milliliter of semen. Number of sperms present per ml of semen will be considered as sperm count. So sperm count is around 80 to 120 million per ml. So this sperm count is very important. ये सब MCQs के questions है, इसलिए मैंने थोड़ा सा इसको अलग रख दिया है, अलग उसको बना दिया है, हाईलाइट कर दिया है. तो स्पीड के लिए आप लोग याद रखोगे 1.5 to 3 millimeters और 25 to 50 microns per second. Okay. Then sperm count 80 to 120 million sperms will be available per milliliter of semen. So these are the specialties so far as sperm is concerned. Okay. तो इसको याद रखें बराबर से. Then we have to understand the structure of female gamete. Structure of female gamete is called as ovum. Okay. Or secondary oocyte. Now why it is secondary oocyte? When it is released from ovary, the ovum has underwent only first maturation division. Second maturation division begins, but it is held up at the metaphase stage. Okay, so metaphase stage पे आके ये रुक जाता है. Fine, and that's how it is a secondary oocyte which is not completely developed properly. So अपने stages क्या थे? Oogonia get converted into primary oocyte becomes secondary oocyte will become ooted. So at this particular stage of secondary oocyte, there will be ovulation and the ovum will be released out from ovary. That's how, if you remember, we have said while giving a difference between male and female gametogenesis, that is spermatogenesis and oogenesis, we said entire development of sperm takes place in the testis itself, but the development of ovum partly takes place in ovary, and partly takes place in fallopian tube. So this is very, very important stage. So ovum is produced from primordial follicles within the Graafian follicle, from germinal epithelial cells that are present in the primordial follicle of cortex of ovary, we can say. Okay, so this is the destination. Again, it is produced by the process of meiosis. So once again, you have to remember this, all the normal things. It is a haploid structure, microscopic in nature. Now, why it is called as microscopic? You know very well. Microscopic because it is not as small as ovum, as the sperm is. ठीक है, तो sperm बहुत छोटा था, 60 to 65 microns. ये ovum जो है around 100 microns तक हो सकता है उसका size. Even 100 microns is very small size, but can be detected with naked eyes if stress is given to eyes. 100 micron becomes 1/10 of millimeter, and it is almost equal to the size of paramecium. Okay, तो अगर पैरामोशियम का कल्चर है तो पैरामोशियम अपने को मूव होते हुए देख सकते हैं, मीन्स यू कुड फील दैट समथिंग इज मूविंग. पैरामोशियम का स्ट्रक्चर नहीं दिखेगा. सो दैट्स व्हाट आई एम सेइंग यू. ठीक है, तो 100 माइक्रॉन्स तक का जो स्ट्रक्चर है वो हमारा रेजोल्यूशन पावर है, हम लोग देख सकते हैं, आइज का रेजोल्यूशन पावर है. सो इट इज हैप्लॉइड, माइक्रोस्कोपिक इन नेचर, स्फेरिकल स्ट्रक्चर, एंड वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, नॉन मोटाइल. It doesn't move on its own accord. It needs to be pushed. So the diameter, I have told you, it is 100 microns or 1/10 of millimeter. It is having no shell. Okay, and that's why it is non-cleoidic. Cledoic. Cledoic का मतलब क्या हुआ? Shelled eggs. जैसे कि बर्ड्स के एग्स होते हैं, these eggs are called as cleidoic, but our egg is not cleidoic. So remember this very well. Okay, without shell. Mammalian egg is without shell. So पूछ सकते हैं which of the following eggs are cleidoic. तो उसमें ऑप्शन आएगा birds, then it will be amphibians, it may be reptiles, and it may be dinosaurs. So इसमें क्या ऑप्शन दोगे आप लोग? Amphibian, because amphibian eggs are also non-cleidoic. Birds and reptiles have got cleidoic eggs. Okay, so fishes, amphibians, and mammals don't have got shelled eggs or cleidoic eggs. Remember, this is additional information for you people, those who are interested for NEET. Okay, then they have got small amount of eggs are having, human egg is having small amount of yolk. So it is called as microlacethal. Now, microlacethal because it is having very small amount of yolk. Why small amount of yolk? Yolk you must be knowing, right? You must have seen bird egg. मुर्गी का अंडा तो सब लोगों ने देखा रहेगा. उसके अंदर जो येलो पार्ट होता है, that yellow part is actually yolk, and it is a fatty material or adipose material which will be responsible for providing energy during the development of the embryo, which is taking place outside in case of reptiles and birds. But in case of mammals, the development is taking place inside the body, inside the female uterus. So the developing individual is getting nourishment directly from the uterus, and that's why there is no any extra nourishing material required in egg, and that's why egg is very small. It consists of small amount of yolk, so it is called as microlacethal. According to some authors, it is said that it is alacethal. What does it mean, alacethal? There is no yolk present. Yolk nahi hai uske andar. That's why it is also called as alacethal. So दो views है actually speaking. कुछ लोग कहते हैं, कुछ साइंटिस्ट कहते हैं कि it is microlacethal, कुछ लोग कहते हैं कि it is alacethal in nature. अभी कुछ सिमिलर टर्म्स यहाँ पे देख लेते हैं. Microlacethal के अपोजिट टर्म होगा megalacethal, the one which is having more amount of yolk present. So in case of birds, in case of amphibians, in case of reptilians, as well as in case of fishes, large amount of yolk will be available. Then there are certain terms like centrilacethal, okay, or mesolacetal. Yolk is concentrated at the center. Telolacethal, yolk is present at the end. जैसे कि frog के egg में, amphibian egg में होता है. Amphibian egg is having yolk concentrated to the end. Black colored pigment present on the side, that will be called as dark color pigment or animal pole end. So ये हम लोग को बाद में देखना है. So remember it is telolacethal. So telolacethal का मतलब क्या हो गया? Yolk is concentrated to one end. Then in some cases, in some birds, it is polylacethal eggs are found. What is polylacethal? There are flocks of egg, flocks of yolk available. तो एक सिंगल एग में जो योक है वो योक सिंगल कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड बॉडी नहीं बनाएगा, कुछ उसमें छोटे 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 धब्बे बनाएगा, and so it is called as polylacethal. So remember all these terms. Microlacethal means small amount of yolk present. Alacethal, yolk is absent altogether. Megalacethal, large amount of yolk. Telolacethal, yolk is concentrated at one end. Then there is polylacethal, yolk is available in many clusters, you may say, and mesolacetal, yolk is present in the center of the egg. So these are the different terms to be considered. So human egg or mammalian egg, let us say, is microlacethal in nature. There is large nucleic called as germinal vesicle present. अभी इसमें nucleus जो है, nucleus is not available in nucleus form. It is in nucleoid form or nucleic form. This is so because it is held up in secondary stage और second meiotic division में जो metaphase है वहाँ पे इसको अटका के रखा हुआ है. And that's why it is not called as proper nucleus. So it is called as germinal vesicle. So germinal vesicle is a term given to it. Female nucleus is formed at the time of fertilization. जब स्पर्म अंदर एंट्री करेगा, स्पर्म ओवम के अंदर एंट्री करेगा, तब क्या हो जाएगा? तब सेकेंडरी डिवीजन जो है, सेकेंड मियोटिक डिवीजन जो है ओवम का, वो पूरा हो जाएगा. At that particular time, for short-lived time, the secondary oocyte will get converted into ootid, and ootid will get immediately transformed into matured ovum. तो ये सब इवेंट्स फर्टिलाइजेशन के वक्त होते हैं, not ordinarily. अगर फर्टिलाइजेशन नहीं हुआ तो ये ओवम सेकेंडरी oocyte स्टेज में ही रहेगा और वैसे ही बाहर फेंक दिया जाएगा. ओके. न्यूक्लियस इज प्रेजेंट सराउंडिंग साइटोप्लाज्म. तो न्यूक्लियस के अराउंड साइटोप्लाज्म होगा. इट इज कॉल्ड एज ओप्लाज्म. ओ इज अ टर्म, या ओवम इज अ टर्म यूजफुल फॉर ओवम or egg. That's what is ooplasm. Centrioles are absent. So mind it very well. Centrioles, just now we said centrioles are delivered into ovum at the time of fertilization. Okay. So try to remember all these kind of structures available. Let us first go through the text and then we'll understand the diagrammatic representation. Eggs are having certain covering. So human egg also is having some covering. First is vitelline membrane. So you can see over here, this is a cytoplasm. You could see small amount of yolk present. This is nucleus held in secondary stage or secondary division stage, second maturation division stage. Then the boundary over here will be called as, इस बाउंड्री को क्या कहेंगे हम लोग, पहला बाउंड्री है उसको कहेंगे वाइटलाइन मेम्ब्रेन और प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन. Okay, this plasma membrane will be having a surrounding of certain additional membranes. Okay, now this vitelline membrane is responsible because it is secreting glycoproteinaceous material. This glycoproteinaceous material will give another covering that is called as zona pellucida. Remember this covering, white covering over here seen, is called as zona pellucida. It is a cellular covering. Why a cellular? Because it is not composed of cells. Vitelline membrane also is acellular because it is a membrane, but it is a membrane of cell itself. ये ओवम जो सिंगल सेल है उसका ही कवरिंग है ये. ठीक है. It is also acellular in nature. Zona pellucida also will be acellular nature. Why acellular? Because there are some layers present, cellular layers. Now between zona pellucida and vitelline membrane there is a small gap available. This gap will be called as perivitelline space, and within this perivitelline space one could see or one could detect first polar body. So first polar body can be seen over here in this particular space. First polar body is a place where the sperm probably enters in. Surrounding the zona pellucida, there will be another covering of cells. This covering of cells will be called as corona radiata. These corona radiata are diploid oogonial cells. Okay, or sometimes they may be having a contribution of membrana granulosa cells. So membrana granulosa cells and oogonial cells. If you remember while describing LS of ovary, I had told you whenever primordial follicles start developing, at that particular time there is a stage where what happens, the oogonia of amongst many oogonia, one oogonium becomes large, that will be called as primary oocyte. After formation of primary oocyte, the other oogonial cells would surround the primary oocyte and then it will start enlarging in size. Okay, so follicle will be enlarging in size. So as a result, there is a space developed. That space is called as antral space. But certain oogonial cells and certain membrana granulosa cells will not be able to decide whether to remain with ovum or to become a part of follicle. So they get arranged in radial format or chains in the radial format. This layer is called as corona radiata. Corona is a crown. Okay, so it is available in the form of crown and radiating. That's what is called as corona radiata. There is another reason. Corona actually is a flash of light that is seen at the time of total solar eclipse. सूर्य ग्रहण जब पूरा सूर्य ग्रहण होता है तब टोटल सोलर एक्लिप्स जब होता है तो चांद क्या करेगा, चांद सूरज को ढक देगा पूरा, and then there is a flash of light seen. Okay, this flash is also called as corona. So it is having a appearance like that of corona, hence it is called as corona radiata layer available, important. So remember it very well. Now ovum is showing polarity. A region where the germinal vesicle is closed is called as animal pole end, and the opposite end is considered as vegetal pole end. Now what is this germinal vesicle? Germinal vesicle means nucleus. Okay, germinal vesicle का मतलब nucleus, और इसके आसपास ही अपने को दिखेगा फर्स्ट पोलर बॉडी. ठीक है, जर्मिनल वेसिकल जहां पे होगा वहीं पे फर्स्ट पोलर बॉडी अपने को दिखेगा. सो जहां पे फर्स्ट पोलर बॉडी तैयार हुआ है, at this particular place near the first polar body, what will happen? There will be a small elevation seen on zona pellucida. This elevation will be called as fertilization cone, and wherever the fertilization cone is available, this place is a suitable place where the sperm can enter in. ऐसे क्यों? ये थोड़ा सा फर्स्ट पोलर बॉडी बीच में होने की वजह से स्ट्रेच हो जाएगा, जोना पेनिसुला जो है यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा स्ट्रेच हो जाएगा और थोड़ा सा पतला बनेगा. So through this thin region, sperm may get entry easily. So that's an idea behind it. So that's all we can say about the structure of male and female gametes. Now we have to enter into the next phase. This is very important phase. We have studied till now the introduction, during which we studied the gametogenesis process. Then we studied male reproductive system. We studied female reproductive system. So background is set. Then we studied the gametes, male and female gametes. We studied working of male and female reproductive system. And now we are going for next stage. That is how the fertilization takes place. Fertilization, you must know, it is also called as syngamy, is a process of union of male and female gametes. Okay. It's a very fantastic view as to how the fertilization is taking place. So remember it very well. Now, fertilization का definition हम लोग देंगे, union of male and female gametes. Of course, male gamete is haploid, female gamete is also haploid. So union of male and female gametes, haploid male gamete and haploid female gamete, so as to form diploid zygote, will be called as fertilization. Fertilization in case of human and all mammals is internal, means taking place in the body of female. So okay, जो जिस बॉडी के अंदर फर्टिलाइजेशन होता है उसको फीमेल बॉडी कहेंगे. That's how we can say. Okay, this is taking place actually. Actual साइड क्या है, फीमेल बॉडी में होता है उतना बात ठीक है, but in which portion of female reproductive system? So we have explained already earlier while studying fallopian tubes that it is taking place in the fallopian tubes, and that too also in ampulla part, ampulla or fertilization field. Okay, ampulla of fallopian tube. Ampulla of fallopian tube is called as fertilization field because fertilization takes place in ampulla. Now there are some conditions essential for fertilization. It is not so like the movies we say, अभी के movies में सब कुछ नहीं होता है. अभी के movies में तो free sex दिखाते हैं, छोड़ देते हैं. But in the old movies, they used to show certain events where there were the maybe rape scenes, or maybe in some cases the sexual emotional scenes between the hero and heroine. Okay, दूसरे दिन या फिर हनीमून का सीन दिखाएंगे. दूसरे दिन क्या होगा, तुरंत अपनी हीरोइन वोमिटिंग करने शुरू कर देगी. ओके, तभी बच्चा बोलता था देखो अभी इसको प्रेग्नेंट घोषित किया जाएगा. ओके, हीरोइन का वोमिटिंग मतलब समझ लेने का वो बीमार नहीं है, वो प्रेग्नेंट है, क्योंकि उसके पहले हनीमून का सीन दिखाया है या फिर कोई रेप सीन दिखाया है. ओके, तो फिर डॉक्टर्स भी आएंगे, पल्स देख के बोलेंगे आपकी बेटी बच्चे की माँ बनने वाली है. इज दैट सो इजी? मैंने ये सब कुछ क्यों कहा? आपको पूछना है, मुझे एक सवाल पूछना है कि इज इट सो इजी? थिंक, डोंट आंसर, थिंक. नो, इट इज नॉट दैट इजी. कंसेप्शन इज नॉट दैट इजी. मतलब फर्टिलाइजेशन जो है इतना आसान नहीं है, कुछ कंडीशंस है, एंड ऑल दोस कंडीशंस आर वेरी मच इसेंशियल. इफ ऑल दोस कंडीशंस आर फुलफिल्ड, then and then only the fertilization will take place. So let us go through the conditions that are essential for fertilization to take place. The very first and important condition is the male and female must be sexually matured. Immature male and immature female, अगर of course उनके अंदर sexual contact ही नहीं हो पाएगा. So but even so, that is the first condition. Why it is so? Because after maturation, after puberty, the male and female will acquire ability to reproduce. Why? Because they will start producing gametes in their body. Now ovum must be ready. Okay, and that ovum must be ready in fallopian tube. Is ovum ready all the time? No, ovum is not ready all the time. We have studied menstrual cycle, and in menstrual cycle we said that ovum is given out from ovary only on 14th day of menstrual cycle. So on 14th day, it will be tossed by ovary, immediately picked up by fallopian tube. And so 14th day will be the most suitable, 14th day of menstrual cycle will be the most suitable day for the fertilization. Okay. Just ovum होके चलेगा क्या? No. There should be sperms present in the genital tract of female. Female की genital tract के अंदर sperms भी safely deliver हुए होने चाहिए. Okay, so there should be a delivery of sperms within the female genital tract. तो उसके पहले अभी sperms यहाँ पे कैसे आएंगे? Female genital tract में sperms कैसे आएंगे? It is because of possible copulation. Copulation का मतलब mating. मेल और फीमेल में जब मेटिंग हो जाएगा तब स्पर्म्स, सक्सेसफुल मेटिंग आई शुड से, then the sperms would be delivered in the female genital tract. They will be swimming in uterus, might be swimming in fallopian tube. So sperms will be available, and then they will be capable of carrying out the process of fertilization. Now the important things, the vitality of ovum in the uterus is around 12 to 24 hours. जो ओवम टॉस हुआ है, देखो कितने पिन पॉइंटिंग कंडीशंस है. ovum जो toss हुआ है, this ovum which is tossed from ovary and picked up, collected by fallopian tube, will remain alive in fallopian tube or maybe in uterus for around 12 to 24 hours, at the most 50 hours. ज्यादा से ज्यादा कहा जाता है कि 50 hours तक ये जिंदा रह सकता है, but it is most active and most we can say vital. Vital मतलब उसमें जीवन शक्ति होनी चाहिए. It should be capable of fertilization. So that time is only 12 to 24 hours. Even vitality of sperms in female genital tract is of 24 to 48 hours. Okay. तो क्या हो जाएगा ओवम के साथ? 24 घंटे के बाद ये थोड़ा सा डिग्रेड होना शुरू हो जाएगा, उसकी वाइटलिटी कम होने शुरू हो जाएगी. ओके. एंड आफ्टर 50 hours or 48 to 50 hours the ovum will be dormant. Dormant का मतलब ये सुप्तावस्था में चला जाएगा. It will not be undergoing fertilization now. Same thing is true for sperms. Sperms which are delivered in female genital tract will survive for around 24 to 48 hours. Then they will also start deteriorating or they will start dying. And so the most favorable period for fertilization is from 10th day of menstrual cycle to 18th day of menstrual cycle. Mind it very well. I said 10th day of menstrual cycle to 18th day of menstrual cycle. It is not 10th day of every month to 18th day of every month. Now comes counting. मैंने कल कहा था कि अपने को काउंटिंग करने हैं डेज. सो अभी यहाँ पे काउंटिंग का सवाल आता है. सो which day should be considered as 14th day of menstrual cycle? Yesterday I told you, in the last lecture I told you that whenever there is a menstruation seen, bleeding through uterus is seen by female, of course, then it will be considered as the first day of menstruation. Okay, so menstruation शुरू होने का जो दिन है उसको कहेंगे हम लोग first day, and from this day we have to count 14th day. So that will be the day of ovulation. Okay, getting it? अभी मैंने तो कहा 14th day को ovulation होता है, but यहाँ पे तो लिखा है 10th day to 18th day will be the most favorable season. ऐसे क्यों? Now, this is biological event. Though we say on 14th day there is ovulation taking place, ovulation may take place 2 days prior to 14th day or 2 days later the 14th day. Okay, hormonal changes के ऊपर या hormonal level के ऊपर ovulation depend करता है. जिस दिन LH हार्मोन की लेवल मैक्सिमम हो जाएगी उस दिन ओव्यूलेशन होगा. व्हाट आई सेड, जिस दिन ल्यूटेनाइजिंग हार्मोन की लेवल मैक्सिमम हो जाएगी उस दिन ओव्यूलेशन होगा. ओके, सो ओव्यूलेशन में टेक प्लेस ऑन 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th और 16th डे. पॉसिबल, वी आर गिविंग पॉसिबिलिटीज. ओके, नाउ स्पर्म्स विल सर्वाइव इन द फीमेल जेनिटल ट्रैक्ट ऑन से फॉर 2 days. ओके, तो अगर ओव्यूलेशन 13th डे को होता है और 10th डे को अगर कॉपुलेशन हुआ है, तो इट इज पॉसिबल दैट द स्पर्म्स माइट बी अलाइव एंड विल बी केपेबल ऑफ कैरिंग आउट फर्टिलाइजेशन. ठीक है, सो taking into consideration all these account or the conditions which we have taken into consideration above, it is said that 10th day of menstrual cycle to 18th day of menstrual cycle is the most favorable what we can say time for fertilization. तो जिस कपल को बच्चा चाहिए वो इस 10th day to 18th day में ज्यादा प्रयास करे, ज्यादा मेहनत करे, कॉपुलेशन करे, so that the chances of having baby or chances of pregnancy are more. Okay, so if we think in the reverse way, before 10th day of menstrual cycle and after 18th day of menstrual cycle, there is less chance, I'm repeating the sentence, there is less chance of pregnancy. So chance of pregnancy will decrease from day 1 of menstruation to day 9 or 10th of menstruation, and from day 18 till 28th day of menstruation. This is a safe period. where a married couple even can enjoy sex without making use of any contraceptive devices. Contraceptive devices are the devices which are useful to avoid possible pregnancies. Okay, so this is how is called as natural rhythm of birth control. इसको अच्छे से याद रखो. We are going to study birth control later on. So during birth control, we are going to take into consideration this as an important aspect. So what is natural control of natural rhythm of birth control? Menstrual cycle is rhythmic. This rhythmic or cyclic menstrual cycle, if it is regular, then from 10th day to 18th day, fertilization is most possible. In the rest of the day of menstrual cycle, fertilization chances are less. So one can enjoy sex without any kind of problem. Now, don't misuse of this knowledge which I have delivered you just now. Okay, नहीं तो बोलोगे सर ने बोला इसलिए करके देखा. It should not happen. Okay, jokes apart, but be serious. What I'm saying is very important. Getting it very clear? So this is natural rhythm of birth control. For married couple, they can enjoy this. Okay, so this is how we can say the conditions for fertilizations, they're important. Abhi, after condition, considering the conditions of fertilization, we have to understand the mechanism of fertilization. क्या mechanism easy है? Fertilization तुरंत हो जाता है? No, even that is not easy. It has got certain stages. So mechanism of fertilization involves many stages, of which first is called as movement of sperm towards egg. अभी ये कैसे किया जाएगा? Now you could see here the sperm with there is acrosome and popped up acrosome. We'll be delivering this all kind of information over here. So what is happening? Sperms which are delivered in female genital tract must undergo a process of capacitation. What is capacitation? It is ability that is achieved by sperms to become active. So physiological changes taking place or occurring in sperm so that they will develop ability to penetrate ovum. Ability of sperm to move and penetrate ovum. So whatever physiological changes are occurring during this, that is called as, क्या कहेंगे उसको? Capacitation will take place inside the female body after delivery of sperms. Now, whenever sperms are delivered in genital tract of female, around 50% of the sperms are going to die in vagina, or they might be demobilized, or they may be broken, or they may be degenerated. Why? Reason is very simple. Vagina is maintained acidic. Why vagina is maintained acidic? This is maintained acidic so as to avoid infections. तो vagina का pH बहुत कम है, acidic है, and sperms, as you know very well, sperms require alkaline medium for their motility. But all of a sudden, from alkaline medium, sperms are delivered into acidic medium. So only those sperms which are most active, most powerful, most healthy will be surviving over here, and others will die. Okay. So ऐसा कहा जाता है कि 50% of the sperms will die immediately within the female genital tract when this reached over there. Capacitation will be completed within 5 to 6 hours. The one which are surviving, तो surviving sperms जो है वो capacitation करेंगे. Capacitation में क्या होता है? There is popping up of acrosome. Acrosome is folded. This folded acrosome will undergo unfolding. In presence of calcium ions will be absorbed, and the pH of the cell will increase to around 7.5 inside the womb, or we can say, of course, womb का pH भी acidic ही है, लेकिन जो environment है sperm जिसमें semen में डाल दिए जाते हैं उसका pH important है. So at this particular stage, the acrosome will swell and acrosomal membrane will fuse with the cell membrane of the sperm. This event will be called as popping up of sperm or popping up of acrosome. Okay. Later, there will be a vesiculation occurring in acrosome, and pores are developed onto the acrosomal membrane so as to release the enzymes, and these enzymes now very slowly start percolating through the acrosomal membrane, and they will start acting on the membranes around ovum. Then after capacitation, means capacitation का second part है, first part हम लोग देख लिया कि popping up of acrosome. दूसरा पार्ट है एक्टिव मोटिलिटी. semen has got certain chemicals, those are called as prostaglandins. Prostaglandins का एक काम था to restrict or to avoid the movement. Which kind of movement? Peristaltic movement, reverse peristaltic movement of vagina. मैंने उस वक्त भी कहा था कि vagina जो है, when it receives the semen, it will start undergoing peristaltic movement so as to give out the whatever is received. semen जो अंदर लिया उसको बाहर फेंकने के लिए. लेकिन अगर ऐसे होगा तो फर्टिलाइजेशन सक्सेसफुल नहीं होगा. नेचर वांट्स फर्टिलाइजेशन टू बिकम सक्सेसफुल and that's how semen consists of prostaglandins. Prostaglandins will act against this peristaltic movement, so they will stop peristaltic movement. That's how the semen will be taken in. Okay, even there is a vestibular secretion given by vestibular gland which will enhance the motility of sperms. So when semen will mix with prostaglandins are there already, but semen when will get mixed with Bartholin's gland secretion, or we can say vestibular gland secretion, they will become active and they will start moving fast. Entry of calcium plus ions will be important so as to initiate the sinusoidal, or that is called as whiplash movement of the tail of sperm. What is whiplash movement? Whip like, whip मतलब चाबुक, hunter. आप लोगों ने hunter देखा होगा, तो hunter को अगर ऐसे छिटक देंगे तो it will undergo sinusoidal movement. So tail of sperm will undergo sinusoidal movement, as a result of which the sperm will move ahead. Okay, sperms now will become actively motile or active and will start moving towards oviduct. Oviduct की तरफ move करना शुरू कर देंगे. Sperms are present or delivered at the base of uterus, and then they will be taken in. Okay. Now, contraction of uterus and fallopian tube under influence of oxytocin hormone will be responsible for sperm to reach up to ampulla stage. Ampulla stage तक sperms आ जाएंगे. Then sperms may reach ampulla within 5 to 10 minutes. Just 5 से 10 मिनट काफी है. अभी 5 से 10 मिनट कैसे हम लोगों ने टाइम निकाला? Told you motility of sperm. It is 3 millimeters per minute. Okay. तो 1 मिनट के अंदर sperm 3 मिलीमीटर का डिस्टेंस ट्रैवल कर सकता है, तो 5 मिलीमीटर के अंदर वो कितना ट्रैवल करेगा, जस्ट काउंट. और 10 मिनट में कितना काउंट करेगा, जस्ट 3 सेंटीमीटर. 10 मिनट के अंदर वो 3 सेंटीमीटर का डिस्टेंस ट्रैवल करेगा फ्रॉम बॉडी ऑफ यूटेरस टू द फेलोपियन ट्यूब. द डिस्टेंस इज अराउंड 3 सेंटीमीटर्स, 3 to 4 सेंटीमीटर्स. अगर हम लोग पूरा प्रोसेस देखेंगे या पूरा लेंथ देखेंगे तो इट कम्स टू अराउंड 45 minutes to 1 hour. So sperms are capable of reaching up to the fallopian tube within this particular time. मतलब 10-15 मिनट का टाइम बहुत है, काफी है. And if sperm come across ovum, fertilization is obvious. Okay, so speed of sperm and time we have already considered. Now we have to go for understanding next event, that is called as entry of sperm into ovum. Sperm का ovum में entry, that is called as penetration of ovum into sperm. That is next event. Okay, so हम लोग events को अगर revise करेंगे तो हम लोग देख सकते हैं कि there is copulation first. Copulation के साथ साथ हम लोग को consider करना पड़ेगा ovulation. Because of ovulation, ovum will be there in fallopian tube. Because of copulation, sperms will be there in female genital tract. Then there is a capacitation. Capacitation में क्या क्या आएगा? Popping up of acrosome and active motility. Okay. One more aspect is given over there, that is called as liquefaction of semen. Semen is given in the form of gel-like material. Okay, there are mucus chemicals available. When in female genital tract, this mucus will undergo liquefaction. मतलब जो गाढ़ा mucus है, thick mucus है, it will become thin, so that the sperms will start moving freely. So that is called as liquefaction. Is one more event. After these two events, there will be approach. Approach का मतलब क्या होता है? Sperms would move towards what we can say the fallopian tubes, and they will come very close to the ovum. अभी आप लोगों को मालूम होगा कि एक ही ओवम की जरूरत है और एक ही स्पर्म की जरूरत है फर्टिलाइजेशन के लिए. ओवम तो एक ही है, बट स्पर्म्स देखो कितने हैं. Sperms are around 80 to 120 million per milliliter, and if we consider 3 milliliter of semen, then there will be 240 to 360 million sperms. क्या इतने sperms की जरूरत है? No, only one sperm is required. But you must know, large amount of sperms will be wasted. बहुत सारे sperms waste हो जाते हैं. कहाँ पे sperm waste हो जाएंगे? Whenever there is a process of population done, semen will be released at the base of uterus. So what will happen in this particular case? The penis will be introduced into vagina, will reach at the base of the uterus. Glans penis will be exposed. Mouth of uterus will also will be expanded little bit. And then there is a delivery of semen forcefully in the form of a jet. This jet will be responsible for delivering sperms into the uterus. In case of human, the position of uterus and vagina is not in a straight line. It is making an angle of around 80 to 90 degrees. So the penis will not be able to enter into uterus directly, means sperms are not delivered into uterus directly. Okay, so sperms are delivered at the base of uterus. At this particular event, there might be wastage of some sperms. Why? Because some sperms only will be capable of entering into uterus. Some of the sperms will remain outside the uterus. They will not be able to enter into the uterus successfully. Okay. Second thing, the sperms which have entered into uterus is very highly active in nature or acidic in nature. Okay. This acidic uterus will kill 50% of the sperms. Then the sperms which are alive, some of the sperms will be having weak motility. Some sperms might be having motility on their own, मतलब खुद के ऊपर ही घूमते रहेंगे. Their tail is not properly developed, maybe. So only few sperms will be active in nature. Those active sperms will be able to flow through uterine fluid and go to the fallopian tube. Now, the sperms will go to both the fallopian tubes because they do not know from where the ovum is coming. We have said alternatively, ovum is given by or tossed by alternatively by each ovary. So if ovum is coming from right hand side of the fallopian tube and sperms which are going towards left hand side of the fallopian tube, they are wasted. Getting it? So itna sara wastage hai sperms ka, and that's why so many sperms are required. Ultimately, thousands of sperms will be there surviving still, and they will approach the ovum and they will encircle the ovum. सभी तरफ से, सभी जगह से ovum को surround कर देंगे, and each of the sperm will be capable, or each of the sperms will be willing to get into the ovum. Okay, so this is approach. And after approach, now there will be entry of sperm into ovum, or actual entry or actual penetration is important. So as I told you, as I explained you, out of 200 to 400 million sperms in the semen, few hundred will be capable, or few, we can say 1,000 will be capable to manage to reach the ampulla, and one of this will be capable of entering into the ovum, one which is most closest to the fertilization cone. Now what is fertilization cone? I have explained you. Okay, what was that? First polar body जहाँ पे बाहर आ जाता है vitelline membrane से, it will get trapped between perivitelline space. So at this particular point, due to presence of polar body, the zona pellucida will be little bit stretched and thin. So this end, which is very close to the germinal vesicle मतलब female developing nucleus. Okay, so at this particular end, this will be important, will be called as fertilization cone, and this will mark the future animal pole end of the embryo. So sperm which are present at this particular region will be capable of penetrating into ovum. Sperms once approach the ovum will lie on the ovum. Taking into consideration size, you know very well, diameter is 100 hai, to bahut bada hai ovum as compared to sperm. So they will lie on the ovum, and now acrosome, which was active, it has popped up, it has got developed pores, will start releasing enzymes. These enzymes will play a vital role in entry of sperm into ovum. First enzyme we must take into consideration. Of course, these enzymes will depend upon the layers. सबसे बाहर वाला layer कौन सा था? Remember, there are 3 layers present around the ovum. The most outer layer will be called as layer of corona radiata. This is a cellular layer. Okay, made up of oogonia. Inside it, there is a second layer called as zona pellucida. It is proteinaceous layer. And inside there is a vitelline membrane. तो ये 3 layers को penetrate करना है, तभी sperm ovum के अंदर जा पाएगा. Now the most outer layer is corona radiata, which is made up of cells. These cells are glued together with the help of a chemical that is hyaluronic acid. यहाँ पे term है क्या? Yes, there is hyaluronic acid available. This hyaluronic acid chemical, which is acting as a glue for keeping the cells, which cells? Oogonial cells together. जब तक ये hyaluronic acid dissolve नहीं हो जाता, तब तक sperm अंदर नहीं जा पाएगा. And that's why hyaluronidase, ASE, जहाँ पे लगा है वो एंजाइम है. So hyaluronic acid को dissolve करने के लिए या inactive करने के लिए there is enzyme used, that is hyaluronidase enzyme. This enzyme will unglue the hyaluronic acid, and so sperm will be capable of entering through this oogonial cells and will be capable of reaching in. Okay, so ये पहला event था. First event, first layer is broken. Then comes second layer. The second layer, यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हो कि ये oogonial cells थोड़े से अलग हो गए, separate हो गए, and now sperm is approaching this entire layer. This layer is called as zona pellucida. Okay, this zona pellucida layer is proteinaceous layer. To break this layer, another enzyme is secreted by acrosome called as zona lyase enzyme. This zona lyase enzyme will be active and will be rupturing zona pellucida at a point, particular point. Okay, point of contact. जहाँ पे ये acrosome उसको touch करेगा, वहीं पे ये उसको क्या करेगा? एक छोटा सा अपर्चर बनाएगा so that the sperm may get entry in. Zona pellucida, अभी important event देखो, यहाँ पे कुछ antibody जैसा structure दिखा रहा है. There is antigen antibody mechanism going to take place. So Zona pellucida has got fertilizin type of chemical, which is receptor proteins like ZP2, ZP3. These help ovum in attracting the sperms. Sperms को attract करने में ये मदद करेंगे. At the same time, there is another event occurring. Sperms are having acidic anti-fertilizin. So there is fertilizin chemical and there is an anti-fertilizin chemical present in sperm. So this fertilizin and anti-fertilizin will combine as antigen antibody reaction, and there will be a reaction occurring between these two. This reaction will change species to species. मतलब अलग-अलग species में अलग-अलग reactions इसमें हो जाएंगे, but surely there is a reaction expected in this. Third event we have to consider is lytic enzymes. This lytic enzyme will be effective against the third layer. Third layer कौन सा था? Vitelline membrane. So vitelline membrane को rupture करने के लिए lytic enzymes दिए जाएंगे. Vitelline membrane will develop a small fertilization cone at the point of contact, which I had told you earlier. Now sperm head will come in contact with this particular membrane and will develop wave of depolarization. यहाँ पे एक electric wave तैयार हो जाएगी. This electric wave is very important. As a result of this, the plasma membrane of sperm and ovum will dissolve at this particular point. So both are dissolving. Sperm का जो plasma membrane है, that will get fused with that of plasma membrane of ovum or vitelline membrane of ovum, so that the content of sperm will be delivered in. Okay, अभी कौन से content है? Male nucleus and proximal centrioles only will be allowed in. At this particular point, the wave of depolarization which starts will lead to the mechanism of antigen antibody reaction, as a result of which the membrane will become little bit hard. Okay, so only two things are allowed in. Which two things? Neck region के अंदर जो centrioles थे and nucleus के अंदर जो nuclear content था, that is all allowed in. Rest of the things means middle piece as well as end piece means tail will remain outside, क्योंकि उसका काम हो चुका है, अभी उसका कुछ भी involvement नहीं है. Okay, so at this particular time only the cortical reaction, antigen antibody reaction or fertilizing anti-fertilizing reaction will start due to depolarization, and the sperm receptors on zona pellucida will get deactivated. जो ZP2, ZP3 हम लोगों ने कहा था स्पर्म रिसेप्टर्स है, वो डीएक्टिवेट हो जाएंगे, एंड एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ दिस डीएक्टिवेशन नाउ नो मोर स्पर्म विल बी अलाउड इन. Okay, due to this reaction of deactivation of sperm receivers, the membrane will now become, vitelline membrane will now become fertilization membrane. Vitelline membrane का क्या बन जाएगा? Fertilization membrane बन जाएगा. Vitelline membrane was thin and soft and delicate. Fertilization membrane will be little bit thick and tough. Okay, antigen antibody reaction, fertilization anti-fertilization reaction उसके अंदर हो चुका है, and that's why what is happening or what is going to happen now, more sperms are not allowed in. This is called as what we can say cortical reaction also. Because of this or during this particular event, small amount of cytoplasm from ovum will come out and will enclose in the space around the vitelline membrane and zona pellucida. So perivitelline space will profoundly develop. पहले वो perivitelline space दिखता नहीं था अलग से, अभी वो अलग हो जाएगा. Means the entire ovum, now we should say zygote, will become separate from zona pellucida. Zona pellucida के साथ ये अलग हो जाएगा. And this cortical reaction which takes place, cortical reaction में क्या हुआ था? The vitelline membrane got converted into fertilization membrane, as a result of which entry of more sperms is avoided. क्यों? Because the sperm receptors will be deactivated. So now sperm will develop what we can say repulsion from the egg, and no sperm will be allowed in. This will avoid polyspermy. देखो यहाँ पे ये term लिखा हुआ है. Polyspermy का मतलब क्या हुआ? Entry of more sperms into ovum will be avoided. So this is a diagrammatic representation. We are showing all the events. This is the first event. What has happened in this first event? There is approach. So sperm makes contact with egg. Approach किया है. Second event, acrosome will react with zona pellucida. ये अप्रोच कैसे किया? हाइलोरोनिडेज सिक्रेट करने के बाद. सो जोना पेलुसिडा को ब्रेक करके फिर एक्रोसोम रिएक्ट्स विद पेरिविटाइन स्पेस, देन प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन ऑफ स्पर्म एंड एग विल फ्यूज ओवर हियर. द स्पर्म न्यूक्लियस एंटर्स इनटू ओवम अलोंग विथ दैट ऑफ इसके साथ सेंट्रियोल के साथ, एंड देन कॉर्टिकल रिएक्शन और कॉर्टिकल ग्रैन्यूल्स फ्यूज विद एग प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन. यहाँ पे ये रिएक्शन हो जा रहा है. So ये रिएक्शन जो होता है, this reaction is also responsible for cutting of sperm. Sperm को neck और middle piece के बीच में उसको cut कर देगा. So only two parts are allowed in. ये two parts में क्या है? Head region consists of nucleus and neck region consists of centrioles. So only two parts are allowed in. Rest of the part of sperm will remain outside. This cortical reaction will make the vitelline membrane to become fertilization membrane, as a result of which polyspermy will be avoided. So this is a fertilization event that is occurring over here. Now next is activation of ovum. Ovum की तरफ से भी कुछ जरूरी बनता है. So as soon as the sperm enters into ovum, अभी sperm मतलब क्या होगा? उसका head और middle piece. What will happen? Certain changes will occur into ovum. So the ovum will get activated, and because of this, ovum will released, that is ovary से जो ओवम रिलीज था वो सेकेंडरी oocyte में था, and it was held up at secondary maturation division or second maturation division. Now immediately after entry of sperm into ovum, the second maturation division will be completed. Meiosis 2 will be completed, and now the secondary oocyte will get converted into otid. Okay, so secondary oocyte का क्या बन जाएगा? Otid बन जाएगा. Second maturation division complete हो जाएगा, and now the germinal vesicle will start undergoing organization to form female pronucleus. Earlier मैंने क्या कहा था? Germinal vesicle means nucleus of ovum, secondary ovum, which was held up at secondary oocyte stage. Okay, secondary oocyte stage का मतलब क्या? First maturation division पूरा हुआ, लेकिन second maturation division पूरा नहीं हुआ. तो सेकेंड मैचुरेशन डिवीजन अधूरा था, इसीलिए न्यूक्लियस प्रॉपर नहीं था. दैट्स व्हाई वी कॉल इट एज जर्मिनल वेसिकल. बट व्हेन स्पर्म एंटर्स इन, द एक्टिविटी स्टार्ट्स इमीडिएटली, बिकॉज नाउ द ओवम विल रिसीव सेंट्रियोल्स. द सेकेंड मैचुरेशन डिवीजन विल बी कंप्लीटेड, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दिस द सेकेंड पोलर बॉडी विल बी रिलीज्ड, second polar body will be released, and the ovum, secondary oocyte, now will become ooted. And whenever the germinal vesicle, means female nucleus, will get organized properly, it will be called as matured ovum. So ovum का maturity भी तुरंत हो जाएगा, second polar body यहाँ पे release हो जाएगा, and when second polar body is released, ovum will become normal. So now secondary oocyte will become matured ovum, लेकिन उसके पहले उसका ooted बनेगा, ooted से वो matured ovum में convert हो जाएगा. So this is activation of ovum. Without activation of ovum, further processes will not take place. And now there is an actual process of syngamy. Syngamy means mixing of the nuclear materials or nuclear content. So process of fusion or process of fixing or process of mixing male and female nuclei will be called as syngamy, or also called as karyogamy. You must remember this word. Karyo is a nucleus, karyot is a nucleus, fusion is gamy. So karyot, fusion is karyogamy. Nuclear membranes present over the male and female nuclei will degenerate. As the nuclear membranes degenerate, the content of the nucleus will be set free. Content of the nucleus में क्या होगा? Chromosomes. At this particular stage, when the nuclear membranes are gone or dissolved, the male nucleus and female nucleus will be respectively called as male and female pronuclei. So male and female pronuclei are the nuclei without nuclear membrane. So the chromosomes now which are present in male and female pronuclei will come together, they will mix into each other, and they will pair up. Means homologous chromosome pairing will take place. Okay, so this is a important event. This entire thing of dissolving of membrane and mixing of male and female chromosomes will be called as syngamy. And now ovum will be not called as ovum, but it will be called as synkaryon or zygote. अभी ovum का conversion भी हो गया है zygote में. So haploid ovum when fuses with haploid sperm will become diploid zygote. इवेंट को कहा था हम लोगों ने सिंकैरियन और zygote formation or syngamy, karyogamy. So that is all we can say about the actual fusion of it. Now we have to understand what is happening about the centrioles. Centrioles are also received immediately when the chromosome content gets mixed up, pairing of homologous chromosome takes place. It will immediately enter in the state of division. अभी जो इवेंट्स है वो रुकेंगे नहीं. The continuous events will start after fertilization till death. The cell division will be continuously on. कोई ना कोई cells तो body के अंदर divide होते ही रहेगा. So centrioles which are available, they will start manufacturing the device. What the device is called as spindle apparatus. Okay, and they will divide into each other. They will attain polar region or polar position. They will form spindle fibers between them, and these spindle fibers and spindle apparatus, which I said you, will be important for taking the chromosomes away for first cell division. Okay, so immediately after fertilization, after mixing of the content, the spindle apparatus will be developed, and this spindle apparatus will be responsible for pulling the chromosomes away for first cell division. This first cell division is called as first cleavage. तो अपने को यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा पॉज लेना है और उसके बाद अपने को यहाँ पे क्या करना है कि आगे का प्रोसेस करना है. Now as you could see in this entire thing, we could see after the sperm penetrates the secondary oocyte, the oocyte completes meiosis too. Then it is forming ovum and second polar body. तो ये event यहाँ पे दिखाया. See, these are all post fertilization changes. Sperm and ovum nuclei swell, forming pronuclei. Then pronuclei approach each other and fuse, and this is fusing of the two chromosomes of pronuclei intermix. Fertilization is accomplished. यहाँ पे fertilization पूरा हो गया. जब chromosome mix हो जाएंगे तो fertilization पूरा हो जाएगा, single nucleus बनेगा, and then the DNA replicates. DNA replication होने के बाद it will prepare for first cell division, which is called as first cleavage division. Okay, so ये इतने events यहाँ पे जरूरी है. Okay, यहाँ पे हम लोग कहेंगे कि fertilization पूरा हो गया. Now we have to go for understanding certain things, that is significance of fertilization. Okay, or we can call this as post fertilization changes. कौन से changes expected है fertilization के बाद? This will be a 2-mark question. So secondary oocyte gets transformed into mature ovum. Second will be called as second polar body will be released. Then there will be ovum is converted into zygote immediately after seeing karyogamy or fusion. Then centrioles are transferred to ovum and cell division of zygote will start. Vital and membrane will become fertilization membrane. That is one more event. Zygote starts development to form embryo and fetus subsequently. So development starts immediately. We can say post-fertilization change. Variations are developed due to fusion of gametes in different parents. Variation का ये कारण हो सकता है because we do not know which gamete is going to fuse with it. Sex is determined. Now, what is meaning of this? Sex is determined. We have studied it earlier in chromosomal chapter 1, जो chapter था, उसमें हम लोगों ने किया है, first chapter में किया हुआ है, sorry, third chapter में किया हुआ है. So actually XX condition, if it is brought in ovum, it is a female body developing. XY, then it is male body developing. So sperm के ऊपर depend करता है. Ovum के अंदर तो X chromosome ही होने वाला है, sex chromosome X होगा. Now if there is a Y chromosome coming from sperm into egg, into ovum, the resultant individual will be male body. And if there is a X chromosome coming from sperm into ovum, resultant individual will be female body. So sex is determined over here. And one more event is occurring, that is diploid condition is restored. Sperm was haploid, ovum was haploid, both sperms and ovum, sperm and ovum, they will unite so as to form diploid body. That we can say is diploid condition will be restored. Okay, so these are the post-fertilization changes. Again, now we have to change the topic, and the new topic is embryonic development. We said as a result of fertilization, many changes are occurring, and one of the important changes, the development starts immediately. Now, whatever the developmental stages are there, those stages are for us or for understanding what changes are taking place. ये हम लोग के लिए है, ओवम के लिए ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. Once the zygote is being formed, it will start development very fast and it will keep on changing all the time. Okay, so जो developmental stages हम लोग करने वाले हैं, वो सभी developmental stages अपने understanding के लिए है. So we have divided into many stages. So zygote that is formed as a result of fertilization will start development immediately. This is termed as embryonic development. It will include the stages somewhat like this. First stage will be there called as cleavage. Okay, so ये उसका थोड़ा सा एक review दिया हुआ है just to make you understand what is happening. So zygote is there, 2-cell stage, 4-cell stage, then blastomeres are there, and then blastula will be developed. So कौन से stages है? Those stages we have to understand. So now there are stages like first stage will be cleavage. Cleavage के बाद होगा second stage, उसको हम लोग कहेंगे blastulation. Blastulation के बाद होगा implantation. Simultaneously there will be gastrulation. Gastrulation will develop 3 germinal layers. From this gastrulation there will be organogenesis, means formation of organs. Organ formation के बाद होगा growth of fetus. Okay, after growth there will be delivery or birth of baby. So ये सब events अपने को, सभी events नहीं करने हैं, कुछ events अपने को करने हैं. So cleavage we are going to study, then blastulation we are going to study, then implantation we are going to study, gastrulation we are going to study. 2 stages we are going to skip, that is organogenesis and growth. Then we are going to study parturition, okay, and lactation. तो ये सब events अपने को अभी करने हैं. First event is cleavage. What is cleavage? Cleavage का मतलब होता है actually टूटना. Okay, cleave means to get broken. So, but यहाँ पे breaking नहीं होगा. The cells will be remaining together. So conversion of unicellular zygote into multicellular morula will be called as cleavage. ये उसका definition हो गया. This cleavage will start immediately after fertilization and will be completed within 72 hours of fertilization. Now, very important. We have to count the days. Again, menstruation starts, that is day 1. On 14th day, there was ovulation, and we may believe that on 14th day itself, the successful fertilization is there. Immediately, the development will start. So from day 14th, till day 17 means 14, 15, 16 3 दिन तक ये क्लीवेज का स्टेज चलेगा. 17th डे को नेक्स्ट स्टेज आ जाएगा, वो बदल जाएगा. नाउ हु हैज डिसाइडेड दिस? ये हम लोगों ने डिसाइड किया है. जब कुछ सर्टेन चेंजेस आ जाएंगे डेवलपिंग ऑर्गेनिज्म में, ओवम में, जाइगोट में, तो हम लोग कहेंगे कि पहला स्टेज खत्म हुआ, दूसरा स्टेज चालू हुआ. तो पहले स्टेज के लिए हम लोगों ने क्या लिमिटेशन दिया है? सिंगल सेल्ड zygote when becomes morula. Morula is around we can say 16 cell stage or 32 cell stage. तो उसको हम लोग morula कहेंगे. So 3 दिन लगेंगे इस इवेंट को होने के लिए. It takes place within the fallopian tube. So cleavage will be completed within fallopian tube. Remember, अब तक वो ओवम जो है या fertilized zygote जो है वो यूटेरस तक पहुंचा भी नहीं है. Okay, it is still in fallopian tube. So within the fallopian tube, fertilization takes place, and within 3 days, next 3 days, the process of cleavage also will be done. It is achieved. Cleavage will be achieved by rapid cell division, which is of mitosis type. Mitosis होने वाला है, but this mitosis will not get a sufficient time for growth, and that's why after first cell division, second cell division will start immediately. The new cells that are formed as a result of this cleavage or cell division of the cleavage are called as blastomeres. देखो ये term blastomeres. Blastula के stage cells होने वाले हैं, that's why they're called as blastomeres. The size of blastomere will go on decreasing. Why? Because there is no growth phase. Okay, so daughter cells are not growing. Generally क्या होता है, हम लोग के बॉडी में जब सेल डिवीजन होता है तो सेल डिवीजन के बाद एक ग्रोथ स्टेज होता है. So during this growth stage, what will happen? The cells will grow and then will enter into maturation phase and will start dividing. But यहाँ पे उसको time नहीं है grow होने का, ठीक है? Because yet it has got no any material available, food material available, and that's why the cells will go on just multiplying without growth, and the size will go on decreasing. The new cells are called as blastomeres. Size of blastomeres or daughter cells will go on decreasing. I told you the reason why it decreases. In case of human, cleavage is holoblastic. अभी ये term important है और ये terms जो है अभी हम लोग देने वाले वो important है. Okay, holoblastic means it will divide the cells completely. कुछ animals में वो holoblastic नहीं होता है, heteroblastic होता है. So it is incomplete cleavage is done. But in case of human, it is holoblastic. Holoblastic का मतलब क्या है? Complete cell division will be there. Then it is intermediate or interminate type. Interminate का मतलब क्या हुआ? Fate of the blastomeres is not fixed. कौन सा blastomere आगे जाके क्या बनेगा वो fixed नहीं है, ठीक है? In case of animals like frog, I told you there are cleavages occurring in a definite pattern. So जो cells animal pole end की तरफ होते हैं वो अलग बनेंगे और जो vegetal pole के end तरफ है वो अलग बनेंगे. लेकिन अपने यहाँ पे ये इनडिटर्मिनेट टाइप है. इनडिटर्मिनेट का मतलब कुछ भी फिक्स्ड नहीं है, कुछ भी डिटरमाइंड नहीं है, कौन सा सेल क्या बनेगा अभी तक पता नहीं है. दिस इज एंटायर इवेंट ऑफ क्लीवेज दैट इज टेकिंग प्लेस. फर्स्ट क्लीवेज के लिए दिखाया गया है. सो वंस अगेन ऑल द थिंग्स, फ्यूजन, मेल एंड फीमेल प्रोन्यूक्लियस, फर्स्ट सेल डिवीजन पूरा हो गया और फर्स्ट क्लीवेज पूरा हो गया. सो दिस इज ऑल व्हाट वी कैन से द कैरेक्टरिस्टिक फीचर इज. ये डायग्राम हम लोग पहले भी देख चुके हैं, सो इसके ऊपर मैं ज्यादा टाइम वेस्ट नहीं करूंगा. क्लीवेज अभी पूरा कर देते हैं. What happens in the first cleavage? So cleavage will be divided into certain stages. Around first 2 to 3 cleavages or 4 cleavages are definite cleavages. First cleavage is meridional. Meridional का मतलब क्या? It is dividing the ovum vertically. Now what is vertical position? The entry of sperm, जिस पॉइंट से एंट्री ऑफ स्पर्म होता है, that point will mark a line, and that line will be considered as vertical position. Entry of sperm, point of entry of position is called as animal pole end. उसके अपोजिट का जो एंड है ओवम का, उसको वेजिटल पोल एंड कहा जाता है. और जहां पे स्पर्म एंटर होता है उस लाइन को पकड़ के ही पहला क्लीवेज हो जाता है. That is considered as vertical position or meridional. You must be knowing meridional lines on earth. Okay, it will give 2 cells, so it will be called as 2-cell stage, and it will take place 30 hours immediately after fertilization. Fertilization के बाद 30 घंटे में ये फर्स्ट क्लीवेज हो जाएगा. Then starts second cleavage. Second cleavage is also meridional but perpendicular to the first cleavage. मतलब फर्स्ट क्लीवेज अगर इस प्लेन में हुआ है तो सेकंड क्लीवेज उसको परपेंडिकुलर प्लेन में हो जाएगा, सो दैट देयर आर 4 cells developed. Okay, so it is also called as 4 cell stage and can be reached around 50 hours after fertilization. इसके लिए 50 घंटे का टाइम लगेगा फर्टिलाइजेशन से, but purely second cleavage will require 20 hours of time. Third cleavage is horizontal, that's why it is called as equatorial. तो पहला क्लीवेज ऐसे था, दूसरा क्लीवेज ऐसे था, अभी ये ऐसा हो जाएगा, तो ऊपर 4 सेल्स बनेंगे, नीचे 4 सेल्स बनेंगे. So totally there are 8 cells formed, so also known as 8 cell stage, and will be completed around 66 hours after fertilization. Then comes fourth cleavage, that is called as 16 cell stage. Okay. In this, each and every cell of these 8 cells of third cleavage में 8 cells बने थे ना, 8 cells बने थे. Each cell will make its copy so that there will be doubling the number of cells, and it will form 16 cell stage. This will take place 72 hours of time from the time of fertilization. अभी देखो, पहले क्लीवेज के लिए 30 घंटे का टाइम लगा, दूसरे क्लीवेज के लिए 20 घंटे का टाइम लगा, तीसरे क्लीवेज के लिए 16 घंटे का टाइम लगा, और चौथे क्लीवेज के लिए सिर्फ 6 घंटे का टाइम लगा. So as the number of cleavages go on increasing, the time required will go on decreasing, and then afterwards the cell division will become random. Random का मतलब क्या होगा? वहाँ पे कुछ भी uniformity नहीं रहेगी. The cells will just keep on dividing and redividing on their own event. Fifth cleavage means each of these 16 cells will divide so as to form 32 cells, will be completed within 78 hours. इसके लिए 8 घंटे का वक्त लगा है. So this is fifth cleavage. Fourth cleavage and fifth cleavage are irregular. I said just now, क्योंकि उसके लिए कोई plane नहीं है, हर एक सेल अपना बस डुप्लीकेट कॉपी बना लेता है. That's why they are called as irregular. This 16 to 32 cell structure that is formed now as a solid mass of cells will be looking like a mulberry. Mulberry आपको पता होगा, mulberry का fruit. Okay, so it will be looking like mulberry fruit. And so it will be called as morula, means looking like mulberry fruit. Okay, it has got smaller clear cells. Cells का size बहुत छोटा छोटा है. Clear cells का मतलब cells के अंदर कुछ भी granules वगैरह कुछ भी नहीं है, organelles कुछ भी बने नहीं है. Okay, clear cells are present towards the periphery and larger darker cells are present towards the center. So थोड़ा सा bifurcation हो जाता है cells का, division बन गया है. Size of morula will be around 150 microns, will be little larger than that of size of ovum. Zona pellucida now will be stretched and will be gone. Stretch होगा तो वो टूट जाएगा, सीधी बात है. Corona radiata will be utilized. देखो, अपने ovum के अंदर बहुत small amount of yolk था. So for these 5 days or for this actually 3 days, 4 days, what will happen? Nourishment is required. So that nourishment will be provided by corona radiata. जो oogonia के cells surrounding में थे, ovum के surrounding में थे, those will be used as a food, or those cells will be providing food to the developing cells. Okay, so corona radiata थोड़ा सा पतला बन जाएगा. Due to increase in the size, zona pellucida थोड़ा सा stretch हो जाएगा. Okay, now morula will be transferred into uterus by the end of 3rd day or in the beginning of the 4th day of fertilization. Now remember, 4th day of fertilization means which day of menstruation or menstrual cycle? Considering that on 14th day there was ovulation and on the same day there was fertilization, so 3 days later it will be 17th day or 18th day. So by 18th day the morula will be there, delivered into the uterine fluid or in the uterus, and it will be what we can say, floating in uterine fluid. So this is all we can say the events are. So 2 cell stage first है, 4 cell stage ये ऊपर का व्यू दिखाया है. Then this is early morula having 8 cell stage. अभी 8 cells तो दिखा नहीं सकते इसलिए ऐसा दिखाया हुआ है. And this is a actually formed morula. See the things. This is 0 day fertilization जहाँ पे हुआ. After 1st day 2 cells will be formed, 4 cells will be formed after 2nd day, 3rd day 8 cells, and 4th day 16 cell stage, And now this morula will be introduced into uterus and will start floating in the uterus. And the next event will start occurring over here. That is called as blastulation. I think we'll stop over here and we'll consider blastulation in the next session. Okay.